I'm John Laspina, the Carnivore Teacher. This is Wednesday, Carnivore Night School. And tonight we're going to talk about the food pyramid. And then I'm going to share an alternate food pyramid. And we're going to, of course, discuss the carnivore way of eating. So I'll start. We'll go around and introduce ourselves, and then we'll get on our topic. Anybody who's listening, please feel free to type in your questions or comments, and we'll address them and talk about them, and I'll post some on the screen. So I have a YouTube channel, and it's called The Carnivore Teacher, and I talk about, I don't talk about my experience as much as I used to. I basically come up with topics that I learn from watching other videos, things that intrigue me, that give me aha moments, and I learn from them, and I just think it's important to share them with other people. So I do some research, and I make a little 4, 5, 6 minute little talk about it, just to sum it up. And people tend to like the short ones. I notice they leave comments telling me that they learned something. I learn from them, and that's why I just want to pass them on. I personally lost some weight. I didn't have a lot to lose. I had to lose about 35 pounds. A lot of people have lost much more, but that's all I needed to lose, and it came off pretty quickly. And then I had emotional swings and depression, and that just went away. I don't have those issues anymore with my emotions. I'm level all the time. And I had lower back pain since my 20s. I'm in my late 50s now, and it's gone. And I found out that was probably inflammation that I was causing myself by eating the food pyramid, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. So many other things I could talk about with my teeth and my gums and my skin. I could talk for 3 hours about all those wonderful things, and I have made videos about them, but that's why I like this way of eating. It is keeping me healthy and happy, and I want to pass it on, and that's why I make videos on my YouTube channel. So we're going to go around. We have next our infamous, amazing, he always says he doesn't need an introduction, but there are actually people who've never heard of him. So you have to always remember that when you talk on these, that you kind of have to start from the beginning and tell us who you are and how you came to carnivore. Mr. Rick.
Well, you know me. I call myself the original carnivore quack. And I tell everybody, when you think of ducks, iguanas, carnivore, heart attacks, you'll think of me. I am a unique in the carnivore community because I've been doing this since I was a teenager in 1983. I also did it as a form of protest. I was not trying to cure any health condition. In fact, just the opposite. I just failed, if I get a heart attack, who cares? And the thing was that I ate, I guess, what was a healthy diet. At least my parents thought it was. They gave me lots of vitamins and plenty of whole grains and vegetables and fruits and all the good stuff, and just a little bit of meat. Not too much red meat, mostly fish, maybe an egg a day, maybe 2 eggs a day if I was really nice. And that's how it started. Now, of course, once I switched to the carnivore diet, I rejected all those things. However, I'm not really against people eating fruits and vegetables. In fact, I am pro fruits and vegetables for some people. I have a friend that was originally vegetarian. He tried carnivore and failed and had to go to a modified meat-based keto diet. So when you think of me, you might think, well, look at Rick. He's been a carnivore for decades. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe, like some people, they have this term, proper human diet. I hate that term because the proper human diet varies from person to person, depending on your background. So when you look at my channel and I make a video, I try to give a real world experience of what I've been through. And of course, I went on YouTube not to talk about the carnivore diet. I was talking about my cars and the things that I do. And, every time you see me, I've always got some props around here, projects and stuff that I'm doing. So I'm different. And like you said, I do assume that most people in the carnivore community would know me. But then again, no one has ever come up to me in person and said that, oh, hey, Rick, I know you from YouTube. No one has ever said that. Now, I did meet somebody from YouTube that I've collaborated with, but it wasn't because just somebody out of the blue saw me on YouTube and then saw me. It's not like I'm hard to find. I'm the only person around here that's 6'6". The only people that would be taller than me would probably be on the Miami Heat. So if you see somebody tall, and I'm the only one that identifies as a carnivore that I know of. But that's a brief story. And again, I'm always on the best quality live streams, and I try to get interviewed by anybody that asks me. So if you look around, just look for 39, 40, or 41-year carnivore, because that's how long I've been doing these interviews. And I'm going to continue to do them until that big heart attack just takes me away.
All right, Peter.
Okay. So I am Peter, aka Papa Carnivore. Been a carnivore for 22 months. So I'm 2 months away from my 2-year carniversary. And, I started at 300 pounds, morbidly obese. I had a BMI of almost 40. 39 was my BMI, if you can believe that. Just type 2 diabetic. I had just been diagnosed. They wanted to put me on medicine. I was on 3 high blood pressure medicines. I had chronic bipolar depression, anxiety, terrible ADHD. I was on medicines for all those things. I had terrible migraines from the sugar I was eating, which just give me terrible migraines. So every morning when I would wake up, it would feel like I was hungover because I had such a bad headache that would take a while to go away. It was all from the sugar. It was purely sugar, all that sugar. I had terrible chronic arthritis in my knees and my back, so bad I could hardly walk. Terrible. It was all caused by inflammation, because only 3 weeks after doing carnivore, it was gone. I mean, this is, decades of just I thought I needed 2 knee replacements, John. I literally thought that I need 2 metal knees. That's how bad it was. It felt like bone on bone, searing pain. There would be clicking in my joints, like when you would, move your joints around, you would hear clicks and pops. So all of that went away in 3-4 weeks. Arthritis went away. After a few months, my A1C, which was over 8, was down into the low 6s. It's now, 5.2. I mean, it's perfectly normal. My high blood pressure, now that took a little while longer to resolve. But over time, my blood pressure is now 120/80, and I would consider that normal. And I'm off all blood pressure medicine. Now, that did take about 8 or 10 months to, slowly come back down. It was very, very resistant. What do you call it? Hypertension. But I was able to get, so I am off all medicines. I take absolutely nothing other than a thyroid pill because I'm hypothyroid, very mild. But other than that, I take vitamin D, D3, K2, just, as a supplement, some iodine, and I take some magnesium citrate, has a mild laxative effect, just to keep me regular. And, just to get that magnesium, because I know our soil is a little deficient. So I do a little just for a precaution. So that's my story. Christy.
Hey, thanks. It's my pleasure to be down here in the bottom box and representing for the female carnivores out there. The other females couldn't make it tonight, but I am here and excited to be. My name is Christy at Meeting Wellness, and sometimes I like to tease John a little bit and say I'm the other carnivore teacher because I am a teacher, a 5th grade teacher here in Southern California.
Christy, one more thing I forgot to mention. I lost 101 pounds.
Whoa, rock on. Okay. So I have been a carnivore for 18 months. I've just been thinking, wow, I should probably make a video. I'm at 1.5 years. And I'm the accidental carnivore, I like to say, because I went keto as just another attempt to lose weight. I gained and lost the same 20 pounds my whole life, starting about the age of 15, up with the weight, down with the weight. And I did that by just extreme restriction. And then, binging in between, putting that weight back on, and then extreme restriction again. So just basically living by that food pyramid and thinking, okay, what has the lowest calories on this thing? I can remember very well the food pyramid in my schools. I was in school like in the 80s and early 90s, elementary school, middle school, high school. And so I remember that food pyramid being there. And I think I even remember it still being on my doctor's office wall, like when I was pregnant with my kids. So that food pyramid has been quite pervasive. I can remember them teaching us about it, and that we should try to, eat like this picture. And it was kind of all over the place. That was never very successful for me because I was never taught about actual nutrition and nutrients and the nutrients that our body actually needs. It was all just about calories. Eat these calories because it's less calories per gram than those calories, like fat calories, which is more calories. You got to stay away from those. Never understanding the role that those different things play in the body, like glycation and things that I'm sure we will get into. So I went keto not knowing about any kind of other benefits or what those might be. It was strictly for weight loss. And then I just, I've always liked meat. So I just got lazy and kind of stopped cooking the vegetables because I didn't feel like it. And then I, then started seeing, oh, wait, there's other people that are actually doing this and successful doing this. But I would say that the one thing that I have not been successful with on carnivore is keeping my weight off. So I'll say that right up front. We were talking before the stream went live, all these other, John and Papa Carnivore down there talking about how they lost weight. I actually slowly put on about 20 pounds after going carnivore. And I don't think it was muscle because some people ask me that. I do not think that it was. My BMI, not that that's a great measure, is still, it's not in the overweight range, but it's at the upper end there of, normal weight. So with that being said, why do I stay carnivore? Because I've learned that it isn't all about the weight. So maybe at some point my body will decide to let that weight go. But I will tell you that I used to have absolutely no energy. So going into my day, I would be thinking about when can I take a nap? Like when is that opportunity for a nap going to be? I would barely be putting one foot in front of the other, not able to, make decisions like you need to as a teacher, definitely coming home and not wanting to interact with my kids because I didn't have the energy to do that. When they were younger, I became more and more what I consider to be introverted, but really I think after coming out of it, I had a pretty severe case of social anxiety where I didn't even want to go to the grocery store or just day-to-day things like that. I didn't want anyone to look at me because if they looked at me, I got very anxious and nervous. And didn't want to do any of that. So as you can see by me being here on YouTube and talking with all of you, like that is just gone. So my mental clarity as well. I also had what I think is probably the beginnings of some arthritis. My right knee used to bother me and my right hand, the joints in my hand used to bother me. And I have no sign of any of that. My skin has gotten better and I've made a ton of awesome friends in this space, including these three gentlemen here that I'm talking with now. So my weight has since stabilized. I'm not upset about it. I was upset for a little bit and now it's like, well, maybe this is just part of my healing journey. I cannot say for sure, but the other health benefits far outweigh, the 15 or 20 pounds. I've just decided I'm not going to stress about that. And I'm just going to keep doing my carnivore thing because this is for sure the healthiest and best that I've felt in my whole life. So.
Wow. I can relate with the coming home from school and not wanting to talk to anyone. And I went into my shell too. I'm an introvert, but the stress and probably the poor diet exacerbated all of that. And I remember a lot of the same things that you talked about. And also the weight loss is different for everybody, for men, for women. And we all tend to want to lose weight first. That's why I came to this way of eating 6 years ago. It's why many people start it. And then we realize all these other things, like you just mentioned, Christy, happen that are phenomenal. And the weight loss will be a byproduct. And if it isn't yet, or it's not where you want it to be, you give it time. Some people, it takes a little bit longer, or maybe you're at the weight that your body's supposed to be. I mean, you look really healthy on the camera, and I did see you in person and I didn't think you were overweight. So anyway, our topic is examining carnivore food pyramids. So I have two pyramids here that I want to share. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to look at the Food and Drug Administration's food pyramid that we used to use. We use My Plate now, I think, and we shouldn't be using that either. But here's a simple version. Let me make sure it goes up there. There it is. And as you can see, let's see if I can move this out of the way. I don't know if I can enlarge that. No, I can't. Can I enlarge that here? Hope I could tilt it. Look at that.
It looks pretty good.
There we go. I can enlarge it. All right. Notice the bottom of the screen there. This is what we are supposed to have the most of, as you and I, and we all know, it's grains, it's carbohydrates. It's bread, it's pasta, it's rice, it's corn. And they call this the food group. This is the food pyramid that we're supposed to have the most of. And then as you go up, it's fruits and vegetables. And they always put the two together. You have to have so many servings. Look, what does that say? Let's see if I can enlarge that one now. 2 to 4 servings of fruits and 2 to 4 servings of vegetables. Then you go up a little further. And I think what does that say there? Let's see if I can get this enlarged here. Oh, why does it tilt? There we go. Meat, poultry, fish, dry beans, eggs, and nuts group, 2 to 3 servings. And then over here on the left-hand side, milk, yogurt, and cheese group, 2 to 3 servings. And then you should have the least of fats, oils, and sweets used very sparingly. This is the USDA food group. That's what they call it if you look at right up here on the top of the screen. And of course, this is what caused all of our problems. It's what caused my problem. If you go around to a mall or a baseball game or go to a park and you just do some people watching, go to an airport and sit there for 15, 20 minutes and just people watch, you're not going to see a lot of people who are fit and healthy. You're going to see a lot of people who are not healthy and they're obese or they're morbidly obese. The people that you used to see in a circus are now in the Walmart and everywhere, the fat man, right? There's a lot of people who are not, oh, we've got some more people coming on. Hold on here. Doing what they're saying. Welcome, Dr. Nelson and Cammie. I'm glad you guys came. We're talking about the food pyramid. And on the screen, we have our standard food pyramid. So we're going to go around and just give us your thoughts on this pyramid, what you used to think about it when it was taught to you when you were younger, and what you think about it today. And before we do that, let's get our introductions here. Cammie first, and then Dr. Nelson. Just tell us who you are for the people who are listening.
Hi, my name is Cammie. I am at last day of normal. I've been a carnivore for about 20-something months, and I'm out here in Ohio, and I'm just doing my best to be a carnivore.
Hello, I am Dr. Nelson Vasquez, family physician in Central Florida. I've been carnivore, I think, 524 days.
Wow. Might
be plus or minus 1 or 2 days, and I just got home. That's why I still haven't taken my coat off or was getting ready to go and cook some picanha, which I have a couple of days in the refrigerator, salted and on a tray.
You're speaking my language and Christy's language when you said picanha. I saw her little face.
I know. I saw her smile.
All right. So let's start with Rick, our carnivore master down there in Florida. It's a little south of me. Let me represent this screen here. Let's talk about this food pyramid, because you ate from this before you were 15 years old, I think, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, actually, I didn't eat from it all the time, because as long as I had a window at the dining room table, I shared the pyramid with my little feathered friends.
Even then.
Oh, yeah. I would open up the window and throw it outside. You know, it's like when the oatmeal came, that went straight out the window, and the corn flakes and the cream of wheat and all the other garbage and nasty stuff for breakfast, and the sandwiches. You know, I'd eat the meat and the cheese, throw the bread outside. But it's really strange to see this, because I don't remember there being a food pyramid when I was a kid, but I do remember that they stressed, you know, don't eat all the good stuff, eat the garbage. Good food has to taste bad. And really, when you think of things like bread and whole grains and all that, my parents gave me the whole wheat bread and the granola and all the other crap. Now, granola was basically oatmeal with a bunch of sugar and crap in it. It was absolutely nasty. Even the ducks didn't really like it. I'd cut pieces off, throw it to them. I'd have to break it in little pieces, and they'd eat a couple of pieces and not eat so much. And, you know, the fruit, well, I'm not against fruit, but it's a real disappointment when you open up your lunchbox in school, and not only do you have a peanut butter sandwich, but you have fruit in there, and then some fruit juice, And it's just like, oh, what a disappointment. But, you know, Rick's heart attack diet is just the opposite of the food pyramid. In fact, it's a very simple diet because fruits and vegetables would be at the very tippy top. Those would be labeled, stop it, my cat is going crazy. Those would be labeled as survival foods. So when you don't have any meat to eat, you'll go outside and scavenge whatever fruits and vegetables you can find so you don't starve. That's basically it. Will you stop that? I have to use a fly swatter on this cat. Stop it. Enough. He doesn't take me seriously because I'm too nice to him. I hate smacking him. Come on. But anyway, the food pyramid to me is just a pyramid scheme. And the older I got, I started to think, you know, they're giving us duck food. They want us to be waddling around and quacking. And like my saying that I always said, you know, snacking leads to quacking. So I think of the food pyramid as just a bunch of duck food. And for me, you know, my diet is basically meat. And then there's eggs and some dairy. Those are the foods that I like. And again, any fruits or vegetables, that's going to be survival food when there's nothing else to eat. And that's going to be used very sparingly. So, you know, my diet is, I guess, the food pyramid flipped upside down. That would be Rick's diet. And the thing is, unlike the food pyramid, no seeds, so whole grains are out. And, you know, any kind of refined food, sugars or whatever, they're out. No oils. Oil is a no-no on my diet. Oil is a fuel and a lubricant, not food. And then everything else, the fruits and vegetables, they'd be at the top. Then the bottom of the pyramid is meat and eggs. And then that's basically it. So I'll have to design my own food pyramid because it really is different than that one.
Okay, so my food, you know, when I was a kid, I think I told this story. Rick probably heard this one. Because when Rick was talking about how he's been a carnivore since he was a little kid, well, I was I think, a latent carnivore when I was a kid. Because when I would be at the dinner table, I would literally be not wanting to eat any of my vegetables. I hated the broccoli. They would give, it was just disgusting. And all I wanted was the meat, and I wanted the butter, and I wanted, you know, the eggs. And breakfast, I would make my own eggs and fry it in butter, and I would love bacon and sausage and ham, and you know, all of that stuff was like what I loved, you know. But I do remember I always loved bread. But now looking back on it, Rick, I think the reason I loved the bread is I would put thick slices of butter on there, you know, like the real butter. You know, of course, then they changed as I got a little older to that putrid margarine. She stopped buying the butter. And I would put it on there, but I didn't like it. You know, it tasted bad. But I think what I always loved was butter, eggs, and meat, you know. And I always loved seafood. I love seafood, always have. I'm a big seafood guy. So, you know, my food pyramid is much like Rick's. It's upside down. Just turn the thing upside down, and the bottom is basically beef. So if you just put a bunch of cows at the bottom, you know, maybe a sheep or a lamb there, you know, maybe once in a while, but pretty much that's the bottom. You go up one level and it's quackers, you know, it's going to be duck and chicken and pork, you know, but not as much, you know, a little bit there. Then you go up a level and, you know, now we're into like the seafood and all those things, and maybe a little bit of, I do a little heavy whipping cream in my coffee. Yes, I still drink coffee. Take my carnivore card. Go ahead. I drink 1 cup of coffee every morning. That's it. And I put a little heavy cream and lots of grass-fed butter in there. I whip it up with a cordless immersion blender. And at the very top, you know, maybe there's a little bit of pickles or fermented sauerkraut, maybe an avocado once in a while. But that's just such a small part of the diet now. That's the tippy tip, you know. So I'm, you know, I guess you would say 95%, you know, is all meat and animal based. And I got to tell you, fat doesn't make you fat, because I keep my fat at 70 to 75%. And all it did was make me lose 101 pounds. And I'm now at the same weight. I'm 62. I'm now at the same weight as I was when I was 19 years old. I have not been under 200 pounds. I'm 6'3". I'm not as big as Rick. I'm trying to get there. Maybe if I eat a little more meat, I'll get up there. But I'm at the lowest weight since I've been 19 years old. I'm in a size 34 pants. I was at a 44, almost a 46. So I know Dr. Nelson could talk a little bit about that because I saw the picture of him with his pants and how big they used to be. But that's what carnivore will do to you if you turn your pyramid upside down.
Yeah, I'll start by seconding that pyramid that you just said. That was an excellent pyramid. But when I was growing up, I definitely lived by that food pyramid. And I think it was because my mom was actually a home economics major in college. Is there even such a thing anymore? Home ec. We used to have that in high school too. I took it as a class. And so with that though, she did take some nutrition classes and she was like serious about it. And so I can remember our breakfast being some kind of cereal, maybe cold cereal, maybe oatmeal. I did not throw it to the ducks, Rick. I ate it. Or cold cereal, and then definitely with non-fat milk. So on that food pyramid that John was showing, anything in that dairy was recommended to be like low fat or non-fat, not full fat dairy. If I have any dairy now, it's definitely going to be full fat dairy. I don't do a lot of dairy, but I do a little bit of like raw cheese. It's full fat, and I do some heavy cream as well. My son, who's also carnivore and has been since February, he's a teenager and he'll drink like whole milk. But back before all of this, I would give him 2%, and even feel guilty, like thinking maybe I should do 1%, but you know, giving him that 2%. Because I remember at my house when we switched, and my mom switched us kids down to 1%, and she and my dad would drink non-fat milk. And so, yeah, my breakfast was like cereal and, you know, and fruit. And you said somebody, I think it was Rick, said something about juice. Yeah, my mom would buy that orange juice, the frozen orange juice concentrate in the can. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. Put it in a pitcher and mix it with water. We would do that. And I remember trying to like sneak some before the water was in there. So what is that? Like concentrated fructose? I don't know. Bad. Because even like all the pulp is even taken out of there, right? So yeah, that would be like my breakfast. My lunch, when I was really little, I went to like a private school and my mom would pack it. So I don't remember a lot. We didn't have a lot of money. I was there on a scholarship. Anyways, things like sandwiches I can remember. But what's funny is the lunches that I do remember, the one specific lunch that I do remember is when we would sometimes have like sirloin steak for dinner and there'd be leftovers and she would chop that up and put it in my lunch pail. And that's, I specifically remember, I'd be like, oh, we're having steak for lunch. It would make me so happy. But I don't really remember the other specific lunches. I do remember dinners. They were a lot of lean meat. So a lot of chicken breast, like twice a week, and then fish, which I do not like, super lean. Twice a week. And then we would have like a meat-free day, just I think because we couldn't really afford meat, but it'd be like spaghetti with like a meatless tomato sauce on it, like once a week we would do. And I think that was a money-saving thing. I can remember the margarine too. I remember margarine coming in and having to switch to that. And so that's basically how I grew up. And then a little later, I started eating school lunches. Well, you know, those were made by the, you know, they had to go by the food pyramid, right, back then. And so that's kind of what I grew up eating. And I can remember my mom talking to us about all that stuff, how saturated fat was so bad for you because it's solid at room temperature and these kind of things that we hear. And we, you know, you would just buy into it. So John said, like, what did you think about that pyramid? At the time, I thought it had to be correct, right? Like our teachers are telling us this, it's on the wall in my doctor's office, for heaven's sakes. Like my mom is echoing that this has got to be, you know, the proper way to eat. And so, now my food pyramid is definitely upside down. And I just already have mentioned a couple of, you know, differences to what the other people have said. But I think for me, it is that saturated fat. And for my son too, it totally changed his ADHD. I would say his ADHD is like 95% better and nothing else has worked. And I think it's definitely the, you know, all the high fat that he is getting. And I think that's what's also improved my mental health. So I think that the top of that food pyramid being fat, oil is a definite no-no, but no, the fat belongs down at the bottom for sure. Cammie, what about you?
Hi. Yeah. I ate tons of carbs. Cream of wheat was my favorite breakfast. My dad made it for me every day. and I loved it. I still love all the veggies and all the carbs. I love all that stuff. But I remember I babysat for a lady who was a dietitian. And so because I was already getting overweight as a teenager, she counseled with me, and, you know, it was white bread, peanut butter sandwiches, and just things that I would never tell anybody to eat now. And that's what she was recommending. And if I would eat a tiny bit less, I wouldn't have all those problems. I wouldn't be gaining weight. And it just seems so crazy now to think about that. So now I pretty much eat a diet of ground beef. That is the bottom of my pyramid, with tallow, and then occasionally I'll have some hot dogs or other things. I have 2 carnivore junk foods, and it's LaCroix waters and salt and vinegar pork rinds. These are the only things that I eat that are not beef or beef hot dogs. I was doing dairy and cheese, and I can't and eggs even now kind of can give me an upset stomach. So I'm just gonna go straight ground beef. And as you can see, I'm trying to be like Nia. I got the blue blockers because I still am kind of stuck. Like, it feels like carnivore eating right is wonderful, but it may not be all that I need to continue to heal. So I'm trying light and circadian rhythms and things like that to enhance the effects of eating right. So I'll probably jump off so that DC can get on. But it was nice to see everybody.
Appreciate you coming, Cami. All right, Dr. Nelson.
Hi, everybody. I think the pyramid, the official pyramid, came out early 80s, middle 80s, I think. But I grew up eating more or less something like that because I had rice and beans twice a day, every day of my life, basically, growing up. I was born in 1960, so full 60s and 70s is my time at home. And my mom always cooked fresh, not a lot of canned stuff, but rice, beans, the different roots that we eat in Puerto Rico, which is also pretty much 100% starch. There was always some meat, and often will be. Growing up, I thought that the only thing that you ate from a cow was, and I'm forgetting now, it'll come to my mind, cheap steaks, basically. But I also grew up eating a lot of the vegetarian substitute meat. So often, not that we were completely vegetarian, but ate a lot of that stuff. When I look at today's versions of the same thing, it's incredible the amount of ingredients that are listed there, and some of them are the not so great oils, like canola oil or soybean oil, and this and that. A lot of boxed cereals growing up with skim milk, because my mother was told probably in the 60s that she needed to lower the fat. Didn't have a lot of sugar added, and that's why I really couldn't stomach. I've never been a big fan. Hello, DC. I've never been a big fan of oatmeal, cornmeal with cream of wheat. Although I would eat it, but usually I only ate it if it was really very, very sweet, because that stuff is nasty by itself. So, what do I eat now? My preferred meat is ruminant meat, and I usually beef, but I also buy lamb and goat. I eat a little bit of fish, maybe once a month. I don't eat any pork or pork products, and I have lost my appetite for chicken. Uh, by the way, cube steaks, uh, which usually are very cheap. That's what I was looking for. Growing up, I thought that was the only kind of steak. I didn't know about ribeyes until later. Uh, so I used to love fried chicken, but I realized that I love the fried stuff on the chicken, the breading, and the fast food Popeyes, things like that. So I still will cook some chicken, but I've fried in some beef tallow. Uh, I have done Rick's heart attack wings. When I'm on the road, which I travel for work, sometimes I'll go and buy just plain naked chicken wings at Buffalo Wild Wings because they fry them in beef tallow. And one or twice I've had the blackened chicken at Popeyes. They also fry in beef tallow. Everything else is breaded or bread or the biscuits. I'll have some hot dogs sometimes, so sort of dirty carnivore if I'm hungry and not gonna be out home for a few hours. I might have a hot dog, but pretty much, and occasionally sauerkraut and pickles and onions and an avocado. But each one of those individually may not happen more than once a month or less. Yesterday I had some sauerkraut and pickles, but mostly beef, eggs, a few. I do buy a lot of more eggs. My wife and my son, who's keto, they eat a lot more eggs. I eat them. There's nothing wrong with them, and then I still have Papa Carnivore's favorite morning hot drink. I still drink coffee in the mornings and put a little bit of butter, just like a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of butter and some whipping cream. So I don't get hungry pretty much until late afternoon.
Okay, nice to join you guys. So what are we talking about?
We are talking about examining the food pyramid. So let me put that back up on the screen here again. The standard, this is the United States food pyramid that we were taught in school. As you can see, the breads, all the grains, all the wheat is all at the bottom. Then you have fruits, vegetables, and then way up here is the meat, and then up here is the fats. So we're just sharing basically what we used to eat before we fixed our diet, and then we're going to show another pyramid as soon as we're all done talking and look at how it's changed. So what did you used to eat before you changed over, DC?
I used to eat a lot of carbs, because it's, every athlete needs carbohydrates, right, for energy. And, and I was training for triathlon a lot, and, I did a lot of mixed sports as well. Like I was training for triathlon. I also did powerlifting and, a lot of weight training, but I also did other things as well. Martial arts as well. I was always on the go, so I always needed carbohydrates, apparently. But like when I was, you're talking about eating oatmeal and things like that. When I was raised, my mum, she made us eat porridge for breakfast most of the time, and because we'd never liked the taste of it, we'd put a heap of brown sugar on it or syrup or something like that. So it's just sugar on top of sugar, and it was horrible stuff, honestly, even then. but it got so ingrained. Like even like most of my adult life, I still ate porridge for breakfast. You know, eventually, like from my 20s through to my 30s, before I was diagnosed, I mostly ate porridge for breakfast. You know, stuff like that. Yeah, we used to go for we used to do when I was doing like Ironman and things like that. Friends of ours, we'd go cycling on a Sunday morning. We do, you know, anywhere up to sometimes we go a bit further. Sometimes we do, you know, between 300 and 450 kilometers in a day on the bikes, and it was like, you know, you'd stop off at little cafes and stuff like that. It just because you get low on energy. So we'd drink a bottle of Coke and have some pancakes and stuff like that just to keep us going. You know, it's crazy.
All right. I made a list after listening to everybody. I ate a lot of cereal, Count Chocula, Cocoa Puffs, you know, all the cereal with the prizes. And my brother and I, we put the boxes up and we'd hide from each other and we dumped and try to get the prize. It was all about, you know, they absolutely advertised to kids. And of course, just like the cereal today, it's all loaded with sugar and carbs. My mother also made cream of wheat, and I learned how to make it as a kid. And I remember being so proud on the stove. And oatmeal, the long cook oatmeal. And the only thing that did make it taste delicious was tablespoons of sugar. I put a lot of sugar in there and margarine. We're an Italian family. We had pasta, we had spaghetti, rigatoni, ravioli, lasagna. We had a lot of pasta every holiday, every week. The sauce was delicious. My mother would make homemade sauce, my grandparents. For lunches, a lot of sandwiches with that white bread. We had Stroman bread in Philadelphia. You all know about Wonder Bread, that horrible white, over-processed bleached bread. We also switched over to margarine, but when we went to my grandparents' house in South Philadelphia, they had real butter. And I remember loving that stuff. And my mother used to say, don't get used to that because that's not good for your heart. The messages that were taught to us back in the 70s and 80s. I was an ice cream freak. I still love creamy things. I used to eat an enormous amount of ice cream. Mint chocolate chip was my favorite. Pizza, of course, tons of pizza. I learned how to make pizza with the pizza stone and all these different things. Brownies, candy, cake, lots of juice, and not whole milk, but skim milk, because whole milk wasn't good for you. And so I don't know how I didn't get heavier and sicker. I had the worst diet. So now I'm going to share this other food pyramid, which is the topic of our talk mostly today, and this is the carnivore food pyramid.
I must admit, I love the ice cream. Ice cream is like my Achilles heel.
There you go.
I remember I did an Olympic distance, like on one of my races. I did an Olympic distance triathlon, like on a Sunday morning. But the night before, I ate like 2 liters of ice cream in just one sitting. It's crazy.
I know. I could do that too. I really could. So here we see the carnivore food pyramid, and this was taken from Nutrition with Judy. I really like this one. There's different carnivore food pyramids out there. I do like that she puts these little don't eat, you know, the gluten and the grains and the gluten. She puts a don't eat thing down here. And of course, instead of grains, we have all the different ruminant meats. Ruminants are like gold. It's the top. It should be the most important part of our food. And so I eat beef and lamb mostly. And then, like the food pyramid suggests, I have eggs and I have some poultry. I do have some poultry and pork like once or twice a week. I have eggs every day, actually. This could be in different orders here. I love seafood, oysters, shrimp, wild-caught sockeye salmon, cod liver in cans with the cod liver oil is my favorite. It's delicious, actually. And I'm upping my DHA and EPA when I do that. And then I have a lot of butter with everything. I add butter and rub it on all my steaks pretty much. The fat I'm getting from the steaks, it usually comes from the grocery store cut and lean. There's never enough fat except for picanha, right, Christy? Usually steaks are pretty lean. So I add butter to almost everything I eat. And I do have bone broth a couple times a week. I make a soup and just fats. I would say fats are almost 50% of what I eat, fats and protein. And there's, I would say, the only carbohydrates I'm getting are the glycogen in the meat. For tonight, we had beef ribs that were slow smoked. And when I got down to the bone, when I was tearing off the collagen that was attached to the bone and I chewed it, it was sweet. I don't know why, but I'm like, there must be some glycogen in there or something. I could really taste, I'm really hypersensitive to something sweet now because I don't eat it anymore. Sugar, that is. So let's go around and talk about what you now eat. And we'll start with Rick.
Well, I'm looking at the carnivore food pyramid and it's making me hungry. So that's the good stuff. You know, before you probably see me making faces like I did when I was a kid. Every time my mom would push that plate of vegetables in front of me, I'd make that terrible face. And I guess it's a habit that just hasn't gone away. But yeah, I like to eat the ruminant meats as much as I can get them. Of course, they're a little hard to get and a little more expensive. So I haven't been able to eat them as much as I'd like to. Mm-hmm. But I do get the cheaper meats like the chicken and pork. I have to admit, that's actually become more of the base of my pyramid until the cost of the good stuff or I get in a better place where I can get it, you know, more commonly. And, you know, I live in Florida. I've lived down in the Keys. I've lived different places. There was a lot of seafood at some periods of my life. That was probably the base of the food pyramid because I was constantly getting fresh fish and shrimp and, you know, crabs and lobsters and whatever else I could get my hands on. And of course, what's missing from the pyramid is, you know, 3 of my emergency foods, as you know. Now, I guess poultry would include parking lot chicken and Muscovy duck, but I don't see any reptile meat on there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And, yeah, well, you know, I'm sure it's a niche product. I don't think there's too many carnivores out there that eat iguana, but it's just an opportunity that I have. And I guess at the top, I don't see any vegetables or fruits on this pyramid. So it's definitely a more carnivore. Mine does include some fruits and vegetables at the very top, especially those fermented vegetables. As you mentioned, you know, some people will eat the sauerkraut or pickles. I'm not against that, but I do recommend that if you're going to eat that stuff, ferment it yourself. And also yogurt, which is a very important part of my diet. I've been making that as long as I can remember, and I ferment it from milk. It's fermented for several days, sometimes up to a week, unlike commercial yogurt that's only fermented for a few hours. So it's a whole different product. And I think in many ways, even though I can't get raw dairy, the fermentation does bring back some of the characteristics of a raw dairy, because just imagine a lot of the lactose in the milk is being converted into fats by the bacteria. But other than that, I agree with this carnivore food pyramid. I think it's a great thing. But again, if you're one of those people that started from a plant-based background, especially if you're a raw vegan or someone that's eaten a healthy, natural diet, this full carnivore diet may not be for you, at least at first. So you might want to transition. And again, make the ruminant meats the base of the pyramid, put the vegetables and fruits at the top, and then in the middle. This would probably work very well. And some people are allergic to dairy, but even though, you know, dairy is included, you might want to keep that out. But this is a lot better than the one the government's putting out. And I would recommend this to everybody to try at least for a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely my food pyramid, almost to a T. I mean, you'll see on the bottom left, towards the top of the bottom section, there's a nice big T-bone right there. That's my favorite steak. New York strip steak. I like ribeyes. Ground beef, I definitely am a big fan of that. Ribs, love ribs. But I pretty much stick to, in the ruminant category, I'm pretty much a beef guy. I will on occasion have some lamb chops or something like that. But for the most part, I'm a beef guy. And then moving up to the other section, obviously the eggs, the fish, some chicken. If I'm going to do chicken, I'm doing legs, thighs, wings. I'm not doing the breast, the chicken breast at all. That I throw to the ducks, Rick, or whatever. you can have it. And then as far as seafood, I love my seafood and stuff like that. And then moving up a little further, it looks like there's the butter and maybe a little bit of heavy whipping cream in my coffee, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I do have a little bit of pickles and occasionally some sauerkraut, maybe an avocado once in a while, but I pretty much stick to the meat, eggs, and butter. That's my diet, and the seafood.
Yeah, I've seen this pyramid online. I'm glad you chose this one, John. It's very similar to my personal pyramid. The bottom of my pyramid is definitely beef. I wish I liked lamb. I just don't. So it's beef for me as far as the ruminants go. My favorite cut, as you guys talked about a little bit ago, is picanha. And I like it because it's A, super tender, like the meat part, but B, it's got this fat cap on it that you just can't find on any other cut here because they usually trim it all off. And lately I have taken to, I like it as a roast. I took one to Thanksgiving. But lately I've taken to cutting that roast up into steaks and then just cooking. I have some actually, I ate some today and I'll have some tomorrow that are sort of dry aging in my refrigerator. Dr. Nelson's laughing because he's doing the same thing. We did not talk before this. We just both like picanha. So yes, I've been cooking that up on like an as needed basis instead of cooking the whole roast and then having, leftovers. So definitely I eat beef and I eat some beef most every day. I do eat chicken. My son tends to like chicken. He likes Rick's Heart Attack chicken. So that's, he likes the chicken thighs or even the chicken wings fried in beef tallow. So that's how I make it for him. And then I just hit it with some salt. And it's delicious. I do still eat pork, although less and less. The most pork I eat is if I'm going to have bacon and eggs, I'll have that like on the weekend. I'll have bacon and eggs. I do eat eggs during the week when I'm teaching because for me, hard-boiled eggs are super convenient to make and take with me. And then the only seafood I eat, it's the same thing. I don't like seafood. I wish I did, but I just don't like it. But out of pure convenience, I will sometimes grab a can of tuna or a can of salmon, hit it with a little either mayonnaise that I made myself with butter, or I'll use like the avocado oil mayonnaise in a pinch. And sometimes I have some pickles that I get. Sorry, Rick, I do not ferment them myself, but they are fermented pickles that I will sometimes put with that. So I will occasionally have that. That's really the only seafood I do. I do tend to eat butter, but that's usually on a steak that's not a picanha, which is getting more and more infrequent these days. Although because I did buy a half beef, when you buy that half cow, you just get everything that's on that cow. So any of the leaner stuff, I've been adding a butter or beef tallow to that. I do make my own bone broth, and the bones that came with that half cow were fantastic, like to the point that I think I'm going to buy those bones from that farmer, just the bones, because they sell them separately. It made the best broth, which I drank just straight up, or I even made some soup with it, which it was like a cheeseburger soup. It was super good made with that broth. But those things are more on the sparing side. Like I said, I will buy raw cheese. We can get raw dairy here in California. And so I've been, I tried raw cheese actually for the first time in my life, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And it was good. And I find that I don't have a problem moderating cheese while doing the carnivore diet. I did have a problem moderating it on keto. And previously, if I started it on the cheese, yeah, it was like way too much cheese, but I can kind of use it as a condiment if I feel like it, or like if I just need something else, my boiled eggs at lunch, I'll bring like an ounce of that raw cheese, and it is really good. And then, like I said, I drink decaf coffee, and I do still have a little heavy cream in that. And yeah, that's my food pyramid. I am happy to eat this way, and I do not get sick of it or bored. People ask me that all the time. Don't you get bored just eating that narrow list of things? No, I do not. I look forward to every meal. How about you, DC?
Sorry, on mute. Yeah, this is pretty close. I don't eat any chicken at the moment, and I don't eat pork because they're monogastric animals, and I can't source them I can't source like pasture-raised versions of it. If I could get pasture-raised, then yeah, I would eat it. I like both those meats, but I don't eat much dairy, only butter, And but the rest of it, ruminants I love, especially lamb and beef, because a good mix of fats. You get all your omega-3s. You get much higher in omega-3s from lamb. And seafood, I don't get much of here at the moment, but I prefer it raw and fresh, like in Japan. It's a great meal. But mostly I stick with like things like salmon, katsu, and tuna when it comes to those meats. But I prefer them raw. Mostly high fat as well. So I like the fattier cuts like chuck. I have tried ribeye, but it's really too expensive here to eat. So, but chuck steak I really like very much actually. What do you guys think about? Before, just something came up recently, like your American FDA just approved the use of Bovea in cattle to try and reduce their methane emissions because, whatever. That's a pretty long topic, but I just, it's supermarkets like here in Australia, it's Coles, Woolworths, and Aldi supplying beef that has been treated with or been injected with Bovea, and that Bovea is an untested sort of drug that causes quite a number of problems. So what do you guys think about that?
Do we do that in the U.S.? I don't know.
It was just approved this week.
In the U.S.?
Yeah, it was just approved and it's already causing shockwaves. So they're doing like boycotts and things of milk and the meat that's come from that. I've seen it like boycotted and put on, they show like this is all, it's still on the shelves because people don't want it because they're actively trying not to get it. And I did see, and I should have downloaded it, but it was like a list of companies that are using it so that you could sort of read what they are and stay clear if you want.
So it stops the methane gas from coming out of the animals.
It's supposed to reduce the methane by 50%.
What does it do to the meat? Do we know?
We don't know. I mean, I haven't heard, but what I can say on that is that there's about the same number of cows in the U.S. today as there were buffalo back in the day. So I really don't understand how they could be causing a problem. But yes, as far as what it does to the meat, that I'm unclear, but I can't imagine that it's good.
It's a chemical,
Yeah.
so it can't be good.
No.
How about you, Dr. Nelson? We want to let you talk about your food you eat today, and then maybe we can get back to this terrible chemical.
So my preferred cut of steak, if I can have it, is ribeye, but it is expensive. I do shop around for meat. So when I can, I look for the sales. I think it was Peter who mentioned the Flip app last week. Was it? Anyways, I downloaded that and I found some T-bone steak for $3.98 a pound yesterday. I couldn't make it to Fresco in Mass. It was on sale until yesterday.
That was me. That was me.
Well, thank you very much. I'm keeping an eye on, but I go not too much because it is different. Preferred is beef, and what I do is I go to the supermarket and I get the chuck roast, and I have the butcher slice them into 3/4 inch to 1 inch steaks, and then I do that on the grill or on the stove, depending on how the weather is. So chuck steaks, about $6 or less a pound instead of ribeyes at 10 to 12 a pound. Sometimes you can find them on a good sale down to the $8 to $9, but it is more expensive. Ground beef, I use it in different ways. Once a month, on average, I eat raw fish. Usually my preferred one is salmon, but also ahi tuna. And I have, right now, I think I have some cod in the freezer. I buy it, freeze it for about a month, just to be on this very safe side. The U.S. recommendations, the guidelines is certain temperatures. I forget. I check my freezer is below that temperature, and I do about 2 to 3 times the time that they recommend. So buy wild caught, put in the freezer, and then usually on a Sunday, I eat 1 or 2 pounds of that. My son likes it. I usually slice it like they slice about the size of sashimi that you get in restaurants, and then salt it. It tastes really good. I used to put some soy sauce before, got too much sugar. Wasabi, you can't find it without sugar, very rare. And ginger, also sugar. So, but it tastes great with salt. So that's what I normally do. I don't eat pork. Like I mentioned before, I have lost the taste for chicken or turkey. Used to like it a lot more. But if I do eat any of that once or twice a year, I'm the one who cooks the turkey in the oven. For next year, my wife already said that she wants to try it fried because we tried some fried turkey over Thanksgiving, but they fried it in peanut oil. I'm already shopping around for how much I'm gonna need of beef tallow to do that. And what else is there? Yeah, butter. I have lots of butter. It's my condiment on the steaks. Put a little bit of that in the mornings on the coffee. Favorite part of the chicken or turkey is the thighs. Has always been. I guess it's because it's the fattiest part. Chicken thighs and legs. And I don't eat shellfish either. And I make broth, but not a big fan of the product that ends up coming out. But I do drink it. I have some right now in the refrigerator. Yeah, I don't have much of the rest of the stuff. You can find, I don't know how much the price, for example, is in Australia for goats and sheep, but you can find between $4 and $6 a pound here. Most cuts of goat and lamb. Just a lot of people are not big fans of the taste.
Yeah, I know
because
that.
they're not used to.
Yeah, the lamb fat has a very distinctive
did you
taste.
grow up eating a lot of lamb or goat, DC?
Yeah, I eat a lot of lamb, but here it's like $15 a kilo. So,
Oh wow.
yeah.
I don't know if it's me. I don't hear her.
Yeah, I love the taste of lamb fat, but I know some people, like I think Christy mentioned it disgusts them, and it does have a very unique flavor, lamb fat.
All right.
I just find it like lamb loins. They look like little mini T-bone steaks. They're cheaper than lamb chops. Oh my gosh, they're just, you salt those and you grill those, and they are just,
with salt.
I'm sucking on the bones, and
Yeah.
they're so good. They go in my bone bag for bone broth in the future and everything. We're running out of time here, and I still want to go around and let everybody tell us where you can find them. And then I think a great topic, DC, for the next time, either you bring it up or I'll bring it up maybe next Wednesday, is after I do some research, is what's going on with that additive to the meat so they fart less, because that's disturbing, obviously.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen. So I'll start first. I'm Carnivore Teacher. I'm on YouTube. That's where you can find me. And I come on every Wednesday night and do these live so far. And it's growing. More and more people are coming on, which is good. Just want to highlight the carnivore way of eating because it is so healthy. I believe it's the species specific diet. I know that Rick doesn't like that phrase that Dr. Berry uses, but I do think it's proper to eat this way. So everybody's a little different. Some people function better with a few carbs, like that come from some vegetables, the fiber, fermenting them. But in general, that food pyramid that I showed, the second one, I believe that's proper for us as humans, and that's why they call it the proper human diet. So I kind of like that phrase for that reason. Rick, where can we find you? I know that you put out some unique videos with your cat and your cars and your iguanas and your ducks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a carnivore channel, although I am a carnivore. I just put little bits and pieces of my life. I haven't done any serious videos for a while, just little shorts and a couple of, quick videos. But I do have a whole list of series of videos I want to make, everything about the environment, energy, and a little bit about diet, monetary system, relationships with friends and people and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things I want to put in there. And again, I don't do social media. The only thing I do is YouTube. I don't even remember the last time I visited my Facebook page, and I never did Instagram or any of the other things. I believe that social media is actually dysfunctional in most cases. So for some people, you have to avoid it. For me, I just don't have the time. But again, you can find me on YouTube, and my email address is in my description. So if you wish to email me, you can feel free to do so. I don't get that many emails because I think a lot of people think I'm a total quack. But on the other hand, whenever I'm invited to one of these live streams, I will join in, and you can feel free to ask questions. If there's anything that I can help somebody with, that'll be great. I just enjoy meeting people like all of you, and which hopefully I'll meet in person someday, like I was able to last week with Russ. So, and I think that most of us that are in the carnivore community are a whole lot friendlier and a whole lot nicer to be around than the vegans, because every time I've been around a group of vegans, it turns into sort of a shouting match and an emotional disaster. So anyway, that's how you find me, and I look forward to meeting more people.
So I'm Papa Carnivore. My channel is Papa Carnivore 15. I really don't have videos there, but I do have a lot of people subscribed, and then from there you can actually see my comments on other people's channel, which I'm all over the place. The only person out at more carnivore channels than me is the Duck Man, Rick. But other than that, I'm proud to be in second place. I've got the silver trophy, the silver medal. I've got the littler trophy, but I'm okay with that. And, I'm just loving this lifestyle. You'll find me at a lot of people's channels. I do live streams with, John with Carnivore Teacher and Nia from Nia's Way. You'll see me on Kerry of Homestead House channels, Mitch from Old Guy Carnivore, and other places. But that's where you'll pretty much find me.
Yeah, you'll see me, DC Fit, DC Learning to Live, just sort of mostly talk about carnivore, I guess. Mostly just talk about health, basically. I'm not loyal to any sort of one diet. I know this works, so I use it. It's for me. It's about putting my life back together after so many years of chemo and cancer, and trying to recover from that. So basically, I do a little bit of vlogging, just about how things are going and what I'm doing next, sort of thing. But in general, I pretty much like to talk about anything and everything. So just life and putting it all back together. So that's me.
Dr. Nelson.
All right, I was having some connection problems.
No problem.
The real Dr. Nelson, or just Dr. Nelson, I don't have a lot of content. I did put something on TikTok, I think it was yesterday or today, and it was my display of picanha steaks that I have aging in the refrigerator. So I repost. I have several interviews on YouTube that you can look at. I was with DC the other day. And once in a while, come to Carnivore Teacher's channel. And almost every morning, I'm with Dr. Kills, not with, but in his live, and on Mondays with Dr. Kills on the Zoom calls. You have to be a member of the Kills Mighty Tribe, but it's free. So,
All right, Great. All right, everybody, thank you for coming. I will be on next week with a new topic, and we'll see what that will be. It might be the one that DC brought up. I don't know, but I want to check that out and do a little research. Everybody have a wonderful week and stay strong and eat well so that you can look and feel well so that you can become the optimized version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.